So it's about 55 degrees today, and as you can see, the bees are flying. They're doing a great job at finding pollen somewhere. They're hauling it home. But this has been the first day in a week that it's been warm enough for me to go back into these hives. And the last time I was in these hives, I reduced the size of the hive down and gave them just the space that they could maintain. And when it was all said and done, I was really glad I'd done that, because I'd found some small hive beetles in there. And they're just a total nuisance to a bee population. In fact, they can kill a bee population or cause the bees to get so upset that they'll just leave and find home somewhere else. So by reducing the size of that housing, I eliminated a lot of places where those beetles can hide from the bees, and basically they can just manage that space better now. There's less cracks and crevices to have to guard and look out for. So just by reducing the size of these boxes, I helped the bees out a little bit. I also went and got just regular old softener salt, and it's now all around these hives. I'm creating an environment around on the ground that I've done two things outside the hive. There's a product called Diatomaceous Earth. It's a garden product, it's a farm product. It's actually a food grade product, and it's the outer shell of a little tiny crustacean, and it's very, very sharp. And you can use it in your garden, and in this purpose, I've got it down here on the ground. It cuts, it's so sharp that just at a microscopic level, it cuts the shell of all kinds of insects. And since the bees don't have any business being down on the ground around their hives, I've scattered it around here. And that small hive beetle, its life cycle, it'll be in a larvae form in the hive, but it needs to pupate, and it does that in the soil. So it'll leave the hive and go to the soil, and it pupates into that, back to the beetle, and then returns back to that hive to do more damage, lay more eggs. So by me putting this diatomaceous earth and salt around that hive, the purpose is to cut that skin on that larvae when it exits the hive, and then there's the salt to dry it out too. And really, this salt should make this whole environment non-hospitable to growing any kind of larvae of any kind of bug. So I've done a couple other things in the top of the hive. I want to get those small hive beetle knocked out early this season. I don't want to deal with them as much as I have any more than I have to. So you'll see it as soon as I see it. I was only able to get under the top cover, and I was able to do two more things. It's pretty popular amongst beekeepers to take care of small hive beetles, but when I open this up, we'll talk about it and we'll see if it worked. So believe it or not, one of the best ways to capture small hive beetles and get them out of that hive is these dry Swiffer sheets. The way this fabric is made, the bees will chew on it a little bit because the bees don't really like it in their hive. But when they do it, it makes it really fuzzy. And when the small hive beetle runs across this, it gets its little legs stuck in the fibers and it can't go anywhere. So I was only able to put them underneath the lid here because I didn't want to open the hive because it was too cold. But hopefully when we open that lid, we'll find in some Swiffer sheets some dead hive beetles. So just as I expected, this has 0 because I didn't think that the beetles would come up in here up into this top. they're down in there where it's warm, down in that brood nest down in there. So I need to go deeper and put that Swiffer sheet where the hive beetles are. So these frames, when I put them in there last week, I just put empty frames and allowed the bees this little starter strip of wood to hang on, and they've built this whole comb in a week's time. So they're busy laying, and the queen loves to lay eggs on new comb. So when I look in these little cells, it is almost every cell has an egg, which if she laid it today in 21 days, it would be a full-grown bee. So this is really exciting to see that the queen is laying that strongly. So these bees are doing really very well. But what I want to do is separate these two boxes and get a piece of Swiffer sheet right here and on this other back side, because that's where those bees will be able to chase those hive beetles and get them trapped. And then I'm going to show you another thing that I'm also doing, because I'm wanting to take care of these beetles. I don't want beetles in my hives. So this is just a standard CD case, and you break off just enough space in there that those small hive beetles can go in there, but the bees can't get in there. Now this has been coated with some Crisco, because those small hive beetle they found are drawn to that Crisco smell and that taste. And I can see that there are, I'm guessing probably like droppings. The bees could not have gotten in there. So small hive beetle or something has gotten in there and gone to the bathroom, I'm guessing. But there's also in this is sort of controversial whether people do this or not, but I'm doing it. This has boric acid in here also, powder, boric powder, acid powder. And it's a roach poison. This is something that really goes against most of what I do beekeeping, but when your dog has fleas, you do something to get rid of the fleas. My bees have problem, so I'm putting this in there. The bees cannot get to it, just a hive beetle can. And once I get those hive beetle numbers down, this is being removed. But the hive beetle should go in, lured by that grease, get some of that boric acid, and then it should kill them and they should be done. So this is going to go on the very bottom. I'm going to put some Swiffer sheets on this layer right here, and that'll be all I need to do today. Next week there'll probably be so many bees in these boxes, I'll be needing to add more frames and more empty frames where they can build, because as long as they've got something to do, they've got place to build comb and lay eggs, they'll just keep on at it and they'll build this colony up. But as soon as they start getting really restricted on their space, they're going to start making plans to raise new queens, and a lot of these bees will be leaving with new queens to make a new colony somewhere else. I want to keep every bee I can. I want to keep every healthy bee I can. So for temporary, I'm going to use these poison traps, and we're going to take care of these hive beetle. So I do realize that this is not backpacking, but it is on my backpacking channel. I have found that in the backpacking community, we tend to share a lot of the same interests and values, and this is just one of those hobbies of mine. it's just one of those natural nature things that us backpackers like to do. So I hope you find some value in it if you're one of the people on my backpacking channel watching it. Maybe you're just a new time beekeeper. I hope you find some value in it too. But yeah, maybe you'll get interested in keeping bees for yourself. It can be done on a small level. It can be failed at a small level too. It can be failed at a big level. I was by no means a full-timer. I was still a hobbyist, but I had 50 hives here about 4 or 5 years ago. And between small Hivebeetle, varroa mite, wax moth, mice getting into hives, the impact of agricultural farming, I ended up losing all my bees and thought I was out of bees. Both these colonies I'm working right now came to me as people called me with swarms in their yards. And so I have them now. And I'm going to keep them the best I can. I'd rather not use that poison, but you got to do what you got to do. And I'll get it out of there as soon as I start seeing the numbers of those beetles either gone or totally eliminated. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be doing more, and maybe we can get a big crop of honey this fall out of these bees.